Hello everyone, my name is Cameron Cowan. I am regularly host of the Cameron Cowan Show every Monday and Friday on YouTube, and I am excited because this is the last video in the Constitution series. I've enjoyed doing all of these videos, and I'm not excited that our series is over. I'm kind of sad about that, but I am excited because you've made it. If you're watching this video and you've watched all the videos, you have made it. You've arrived. You have gone from the Federalist Papers to this video, which I am calling Our Living Document. And the reason I call it that is because the Constitution has been changed 26 times. And all kinds of interesting things have been fixed and changed and added and subtracted and different things that have gone on. Throughout the series, I have suggested a variety of different changes that I think might be productive in kind of improving our Constitution. One of them was getting rid of winner-take-all elections. Another was changing how we apportion congressional districts to get rid of gerrymandering. And trying to, improve upon the system in the way that others have been. But after 240 years, our Constitution is looking a little tired. There are definitely, I think, some problems. I think our system is looking a little threadbare at this stage of the game. And while I think the basic the bones of the house are good, there are some problems that I think definitely need to be fixed. I think in terms of the Constitution, there's some things we should acknowledge. I think human rights, like embodying the UN Convention of Human Rights within the U.S. Constitution is absolutely essential. I think a strong statement on the rights of children, I think, is vital in the Constitution. I think acknowledging and submitting to international law is important. For those of us who studied international law, you'll know that the U.S. Constitution and international law conflict constantly because of how the original document is written. And so there's plenty of chances for that to occur and for the Constitution to finally be sublimated to international law. I also think that cleaning up rights in regards to guns and religion would also be important. I think really kind of coming together on what establishment and free exercise what that really means in the modern context, I think is really important. And I think also trying to come together on how to really deal with the gun control issue from a constitutional perspective is absolutely vital. So, and I've called for this before, I have said for a while we should have a national constitutional convention on a variety of issues, and we should sit down and really work at rewriting the Constitution from the foundation up. Start with, our branches, legislative, executive, judicial, start with our departments, all this type of thing, and then kind of rebuild the whole thing to function in the modern world. Because unfortunately, a lot of the problems and things that we have, we just didn't face back in 1789. And so now it's really a chance for us to do something new, to do something creative, and create something that we can really all agree on and we can really all co-sign on. I think the future of the Constitution is great, but I think the Constitution has to change with the modern times. And I think if there's one thing that the Constitution has kind of failed to do as the years have gone by is really keep up with the times. The Constitution is stuck in the past, in a world that simply does not take into effect this technology, which was not in the wildest imagination of people that wrote this. It did not take it didn't understand the variety of people that would be in this country, the variety of religions that would exist. It just, the complexity of financial markets. It just, none of that existed. None of that was even imagined. And I think now is a great chance to kind of re-embody what modern principles do we want to live by? What nation do we want to live in? And that's what, kind of bringing full circle, Madison, Jay, and Hamilton were discussing in the Federalist Papers, was what kind of country do we want to live in? How do we want to structure a government that will preserve justice, that will mute this tyranny of the majority, that will allow all voices to be heard and be participatory? And I think that is a question that we face again at a very real level, is how do we do that? How do we create a fair system of taxation? How do we create a system where corporations are not allowed to run willy-nilly all over our laws, where the environment and our ecology is protected? How do we build that and create that as a nation? And I think the future of the Constitution is answering those questions and living somewhat into that answer. So I guess to wrap up this series, the Constitution, as I said, is one of the most dynamic, liberal, progressive documents in the history of the world. When it was penned, it granted rights that people would never dream that they would have. It allowed for a kind of society that to people who lived in Europe was unthinkable. It allowed personal freedom that had been hitherto unheard of. And in that way, the U.S. Constitution should be forever looked to in world history as a foundational document of the modern freedoms that we all hold dear and take absolutely for granted as our God-given and inalienable rights. And I think that it is so very vital that we kind of hold it in our hearts, because it not only does it make us truly American, but it is that beacon on a hill, to borrow a Reagan quote. It is that light that oppressed people look to as a model of not what they have, but what truly can be. And in that way, the U.S. Constitution is an amazing document. I hope you've enjoyed this series. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have questions, comments, concerns, and rants, please feel free to comment below. Or you can write me email at CameronCowan.net, at Cameron Cowan on Twitter, Facebook.com/The Cameron Cowan Show, and you can catch me every Monday and Friday on The Cameron Cowan Show for all the news you need to know in 10 minutes or less, and why you should care about it. And also every Saturday on our podcast. We'll talk soon now, and thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye now.